everybody. Today we're going to do lesson 2.5, the adaptable brain. Our objective for today is that we will analyze the brain's ability to take on multiple functions by analyzing language, plasticity, and split brain functions.
So here we see the motor cortex, the Broca's area, and the auditory cortex of our brain. What this is showing us is that we have multiple areas of the brain that can be responsible for language. So this may explain why after some people suffer brain damage, they may need to learn how to talk again, but they can learn how to do that. So different parts of the brain are responsible for different things. They might be responsible for listening, speaking, writing, and reading. For example, the auditory cortex is going to be responsible for listening. That's where hearing is processed. The vernix area is language reception. So what I mean by language reception is comprehension. So the understanding of the language. The Broca's area is responsible for the actual movement of the mouth, or what we call language expression. When I think of Broca's area, if you say it out loud to yourself, your lips kind of move when you say that R. That language expression, the actual speaking part of it, or the movement of your mouth, is going to be the Broca's area. Now, if one of these areas was to be damaged, that would be called aphasia. Aphasia is the impairment of language due to damage. Now, again, because you have so many different parts of your brain that are responsible for language, you can learn to speak again. We do know that it's possible. But if there is damage to the brain, we would call that aphasia. So I kind of love this picture of Homer Simpson and his little brain and no chance of change, which isn't totally accurate because our brain has plasticity. And plasticity, or also known as neuroplasticity, is our brain's ability to change after damage. So what we do know, there's a couple of things that we know, is once a neuron dies, it cannot be fixed. This is why we say, talk about killing brain cells. If you actually kill a brain cell, you cannot fix it. It cannot be replaced. But what can happen is your brain can reorganize, meaning that other parts of your brain can take over for what has been damaged. And we call this neurogenesis. Which we actually originally discovered in the brains of monkeys. This is more just a fun fact if you're ever at trivia. But what we do know is that we can regenerate new neurons. So if you kill one neuron, there is a possibility to regenerate or to fire a new neuron and to grow synapses. So our brain can adapt after some limited brain damage.
So, our brain has this amazing ability to change and adapt itself. We know when using language that there are different parts of our brain that's responsible for language, specifically the Broca's area, which is responsible for the actual speech itself. And then we have the Wernicke's area that's responsible for the comprehension. What you all are using right now as you're listening to me is the Wernicke's area. We also know that if our brain happens to be damaged, there is an opportunity for plasticity, which is the brain's ability to regenerate after damage. We can't necessarily fix a neuron that's been damaged, but other neurons can either take over for that responsibility, or we even have neurogenesis, which is the ability for our neurons to regenerate new neurons, which is pretty cool and fascinating.